Hello again. So, hopefully you've just had a look at the difference between masculine and feminine nouns and the singular and plural nouns video. So let's have a look at that use in practice. So first of all, we're going to have a look at some feminine nouns, both singular and plural. Okay? So the first one I've got there is cipolla. You see where the O is in italics? That's where your stress is on the word. Cipolla. So one onion. Cipolla, one onion. And if you want more than one onion, it becomes cipolle. From the A to the E. Okay? The next one we've got is passata. Now, passata is not what we have in England. Passata in England tends to be sieved tomatoes, sieving out the seeds. In Italian, passata is tomato puree. Okay, so the likelihood is you might have a latina di passata, a tin or a jar of passata. So the passata itself, you're not going to change the ending because it's the latina that matters. It's the tin or the jar that matters. That's the one that's going to be either singular or plural. So one tin is una latina di passata, and more than one tin will be latine di passata, going from the A to the E. Okay? I'm just going to leave uovo a minute and come back to that. Let's have a look at acciuga. Again, your U is where the stress is. Acciuga. Okay, now acciuga ends in an A in the singular, but you can see here we've added an H in the plural. Can you remember when we talked about a G, if the G is followed by an E or an I, that the sound changes to a J? Now, if we just left it that the A had changed to an E, it would become acciughe. Now, that's not the right word. We want a hard G sound. And in Italian, in order to keep that hard G sound, we add an H to the word. So acciuga becomes acciughe. Okay? Very much like the sound of a sneeze. And when my son was little, he asked me, Mamma, che cosa sono? And I said, sono acciughe. And he said, oh, Mom, that looks like a sneeze and it sounds like a sneeze. So if it helps you remember, acciuga or acciughe, sneeze fish. Okay, let's go to the last one on here. Rucola. Rucola. Rucola is rocket and it's only in the singular. There is no plural for rucola because you can't have one rocket, two rocket, three rocket. You can have a leaf, a plant, a field of, a bag of, but you can't have two rucolas. So it's the same in Italian. So rucola is just whether it's one leaf or more than one leaf or whatever, it's just rucola. Now, let's go back to uovo. Okay, uovo. So here your stress is on the first O, uovo. Now, uovo is a strange word. Uovo means egg, by the way. Okay, so uovo is a strange one in that it ends in an O in the singular. It's masculine. But in the in the plural rather, it becomes feminine. It becomes uova. Why would you do that, do you think? Why? Anyway, it comes from the Latin, from when there were masculine, feminine, and neuter in the Latin. Anything that ended in an became O in the masculine. And when it ended in the plural, so for example, forum is the singular, fora is the plural, stadium, stadia. So for some reason, they decided it would be a good idea to have the plural become feminine and keep the A, but the singular to become masculine and change its ending to an O. So don't blame me. just the way it is. And that's language for you. Let's have a look at some masculine food. Okay? So, masculine nouns in the singular are going to end in an O or an E, and in the plural are going to end in an I. Okay? So the first one we've got here is cappero. Cappero. So a cappero is a caper. So one cappero, un cappero. Now the likelihood of you having one caper on your pizza is minimal, so you might need more than one. So to make it more than one, we remove the we remove the O and we add the I, and it becomes capperi. Capperi. And you could have una lattina di capperi, a jar or a tin of capers. The next one we have is salame. Salame. Okay? Salame is what we call in English salami. So we're making it plural, even though it's only one. So in Italian, un salame, one salami sausage. And then more than one will be salami, be more than one salami sausage. Okay, salame, salami. Then we have peperoncino, peperoncino. So peperoncino are chili peppers. Okay, you can see the I there is your stress, peperoncino. Un peperoncino, due peperoncini. Okay? Not as complicated as we thought. The next one, lots of students find this one difficult to remember. Carciofo. Carciofo is an artichoke. Now, the only way I can really get people to, or try to help people to remember, is that carciofo and artichoke both have that ch sound in the middle, and to try and imagine the back of your car filled with artichokes. Carciofo. Okay? Artichoke. I know it's tenuous, but if it helps, good. Okay? So, un carciofo, due carciofi. So, the next one. Pomodoro. Pomodoro. Pomodoro is a tomato. One pomodoro. Un pomodoro, due what? Sì, pomodori, due pomodori. Pomodoro, by the way, comes from the word pom, for potato, sorry, not potato, apple, and d'oro, which is golden. Yeah, things might change since then. Then we have peperone. Peperone. Now, peperoncino, if you remember, was a chili pepper, and ino or cino in Italian is a diminutive. It means it's small. So basically, a peperoncino is a small pepper, which makes peperone a pepper. So a bell pepper, capsicum pepper, is a peperone. And if you wanted more than one peperone, it's going to be what? Yep, pepperoni. Well done, pepperoni. Then we have the word for mushroom. Fungo, not fungo. Fungo is mushroom. More than one mushroom is fungi. Notice again we have that H in the middle of our ending, because again, if we tried to have a G followed by an I, it would make it fungi, which doesn't sound particularly appetizing. So we've added the H in to make it fungi. Fungi. So let's just have a go. So let's say out loud, cappero, salame, peperoncino, carciofo, pomodoro, peperone, fungo. Now let's do the plural. Capperi, salami, peperoncini, carciofi, pomodori, pepperoni, and funghi. Well done. Let's have a look at the next lot. So, carrying on, we have formaggio, formaggio. So, formaggio is cheese, okay? And it might be that you don't want a whole cheese. You could want 100 grams of cheese, okay? Un etto di means 100 grams of. So, thinking about our numbers, if we want 200 grams, we're going to have due etti di. So don't forget that O will change to an I. So it would be due etti di formaggio. Okay? Due etti di formaggio. You try. And what would 300 grams be? That's right. 3 etti di formaggio. Well done. Let's have a look at the next one. So the next one is got that GLI sound. So don't forget, no gl sound. Okay? We want aglio, aglio. I don't know if you can remember, it was that GLI is like the double L sound in the word million or William. Is that sort of y sound. Again, if you can't do the y, go with the l, because at least it sounds better and is much more understandable than aglio. Okay, aglio in Italian doesn't work. So this is un aglio is 1 garlic bulb. If you want more than 1 garlic bulb, due agli. And what we're doing there is we're taking the O off the end, just leaving the I. Okay, due agli. Now, if you're looking at a recipe, for example, you're not going to want a whole bulb of garlic unless you really hate the people you live with. So you might just want a clove or 2 cloves. A clove is a spicchio. Spicchio. Now, it's that hard K sound because we have the C followed by an H. So it's not followed by an I or an E. So it's that hard K sound. So we get spicchio. Okay? Spicchio d'aglio. Spicchio d'aglio. If you wanted more than 1, then you'd have due spicchi. Again, so we're going to take the O off the end. We're just going to have due spicchi d'aglio. Okay? Okay, right. So the next thing I've got is tonno. Tonno. Tonna is tuna fish. Okay? Tuna fish. Now, it's unlikely you're going to need a whole one, because if you do, you're going to need a wheelbarrow to get it home in, because they're big. So, what I've given here as an option is un trancio di. Okay? And trancio is like a steak. The tuna fish steak is un trancio di tonno. If you want more than 1 fillet or more than 1 steak, again, take off the O on the end of the word and you'll have due tranci di tonno. Good. Okay, the next thing I've got is that SCI sound. SCI sound followed by a vowel. Okay, so we're not pronouncing the I, but that is a sh sound. So what we have here is prosciutto cotto. I'll get you practicing your T's. Prosciutto cotto. Okay? So, if you want prosciutto cotto, which is cooked ham, again, you probably don't want a whole one. So it's likely you're either going to want un etto di, or possibly you could ask for una fetta di, a slice of. Una fetta di prosciutto cotto. So if we wanted 2 slices of cooked ham, we'd ask for due fette di prosciutto cotto, because we've changed the ending of fetta to fette, because it's gone from the singular to the plural. So how would you say 8 slices of cooked ham? That's right. 8 fette di prosciutto cotto. And I have to tell you, that was the first sentence I ever learnt in Italian. And when I arrived in Italy for my time over there, that I ate a lot of ham initially, as you can imagine. So the next one we've got is prosciutto crudo. Prosciutto crudo. Now prosciutto crudo, so we know prosciutto is ham, crudo is cured. So cured ham, prosciutto crudo. Again, I'm not sure you want a whole haunch, so you could ask for un etto di, or 2 etti di, or you could ask for fette di. Entirely up to you. Okay, but you have the options there, so you don't come away with a haunch. Lastly, we have this word here, which is mais, which is halfway between mice and maize, and becomes mais. Okay? Now, as in English, there's no plural for the word maize, because maize is sweet corn. You have 1 sweet corn, you can't have 2 sweet corns. You could have a kernel, or a cob, or a plant, or a field of, but you can't have 2 sweet corns. However, what you can have are 2 corn on the cobs. A corn on the cob is called a pannocchia. Una pannocchia. It's feminine. Una pannocchia. Okay? If you want more than 1 corn on the cob, you'd ask for 2 pannocchie. So that A changes to an E from the singular to the plural. Una pannocchia, 2 pannocchie. So how would you ask for 3 corn on the cob? That's it. 3 pannocchie. Well done. Good job.